Jung-Chu slammed the door shut, then turned and bolted, sprinting through the rain until he reached the security booth outside the complex. He banged hard on the glass, startling the 3 guards inside, who had been playing cards. After hearing Jung-Chu's account, one guard stayed behind while the other 2 grabbed rubber batons and went back with him. Taking the keys from Jung-Chu, the older guard called out loudly a few times from the doorway, his voice meant to project authority. The inside was deathly quiet. Once the lock clicked open and the lights came on, that long-lost feeling of safety returned. The guard had turned on the lights after fumbling for the switch. Jung-Chu was the last to enter the room, but the moment he stepped inside, his head spun. The script box was gone. The envelope, the invitation, even the scattered cards were all missing. No way. Where's my script? A moment later, the younger guard holstered his baton and came out of the bathroom, his gaze toward Jung-Chu turning strange. Brother, don't touch anything else yet. Do you want to come in and take a look? He stepped aside. The bathroom was small. A single glance could take it all in. But the scene inside made Jung-Chu freeze. The floor was dry. The small shower cubicle was spotless. By now, the older guard who had been checking the rest of the room joined them. There's no water in the bathroom. I just checked. The shower head is fine, and there aren't any wet footprints on the floor either. How could that be? A complex, terrifying feeling crept up Jung-Chu's spine. He was certain he had heard running water and had seen that strange black shadow. Even the room's light had dimmed. There was no mistake. Young man, maybe you're under too much pressure. Take it easy, nothing is insurmountable. The middle-aged guard tried to comfort him. He had originally intended to help Jung-Chu check for any valuables in the room, but it was obvious there was nothing worth stealing here. After saying that, the 2 guards prepared to leave. A few minutes later, the guard at the booth called to say that surveillance hadn't recorded anyone leaving the building recently, except for Jung-Chu. Wait, I'm coming with you. I want to see the footage. Jung-Chu stuffed a few clothes into his bag, grabbed his old laptop. There was no way he was sleeping here again until this was figured out. In horror movies, the ones who don't believe are always the first to die. 10 minutes later, Jung-Chu was in the security office, staring at the screen, reviewing recent footage. It showed him hurrying upstairs, then almost immediately running back out. Before the guards returned with him, no one else had entered or exited the hallway. He slowly rewound the timeline. Although he didn't want to admit it, it really seemed like he had just experienced something supernatural. And he suspected it was all tied to that mysterious script box. Why else would only the box disappear? The script box couldn't have been an illusion. The 3,000 yuan cash was still in his pocket. No way. As he watched earlier footage, his face grew paler. He saw himself standing at the hallway entrance, watching Brother True leave. After that, no one went in or out until he himself, umbrella in hand, left to get dinner. There was no delivery person, no landlady, no one at all. So, who had delivered the script to him? And more importantly, what exactly had been knocking on his door? Cold sweat trickled down his forehead. The more he thought about it, the more relieved he felt that he hadn't opened the door. There was no way he was going back there tonight. Running through all the supernatural scripts he'd written and horror films he'd watched, Jung-Chu decided to book a hotel, one in a busy commercial area, with plenty of foot traffic. Safety was the priority. Traveling alone with luggage at night was risky, so he chose to pay 2 security guards he knew to escort him. 100 yuan each, money well spent. The trip was uneventful. When he stepped out of the taxi, a large red sign hotel was right in front of him. He had booked it earlier. The location was excellent, the area lively and crowded. Seeing people come and go made him breathe easier. Paying the guards, he couldn't help but be polite. Brothers, it's not just about the money. It's about making sure the client is safe. That's right. We're just doing our duty to keep you safe. Jung-Chu left them his phone number, telling them to contact him immediately if anything happened to his apartment. No call, still a reward, but they were not to wander off unnecessarily. The 2 agreed, then got back into the taxi to return. The driver gave Jung-Chu a few curious looks. 3 men in the back seat, Jung-Chu in the middle, flanked by 2 uniformed guards. With his pale, delicate features, the driver naturally assumed he was some minor celebrity. After checking in, Jung-Chu went up to his room. Once he confirmed the shower head wasn't leaking, he let out a sigh of relief and collapsed onto the large, soft bed. On the way here, the blurry black silhouette in the bathroom kept flashing in his mind. It had looked like a woman. After resting a while, he sat up, turned on the TV, and flipped through channels. In truth, besides a hotel, he had considered other places like a lively bar or an internet cafe as temporary refuges. But as a supernatural scriptwriter, he'd written too many horror stories set in bars and internet cafes, where everyone except a few main characters were ghosts. Choosing the wrong place at the start meant there was almost no way to survive. With that shadow in his mind, he ultimately chose the hotel. He certainly wasn't going to call any of his already few friends to keep him company. Not just because he didn't want to drag them into this, but more importantly, he feared the friend who came might not be human at all. Right now, his only clue was the script box. Sitting at the desk, Jung-Chu opened his laptop, connected to the hotel Wi-Fi, and searched the ghost play of Feng Men on Baidu. Aside from a mess of unrelated ads, he found nothing. Thinking for a moment, he remembered the address on the package. Entering Feng Men Town finally got a hit. It was a real place. A small tourist town in Fengnam Province, about 100 kilometers from Dongtan. Number 144 Feng Men Town was also real, a flour processing factory called Tan Fong Second Flour Mill. But records showed it had been shut down for many years. Government records about the factory were sparse and vague, full of old, cryptic references. After digging through multiple sources, Jung-Chu finally found something: a post about the supernatural incident at Tan Fong Second Flour Mill, with a headline that immediately caught his eye. Forbidden. The supernatural event at Tan Fong Second Flour Mill, with photos, with the truth. Clicking open the post, the author got straight to the point. Brothers, I'm a local from Feng Men Town. Let me tell you, the rumors online are true. The old site of the Second Flour Mill really is a cursed place. Once night falls and the sky turns pitch black, the older generation always avoids it. A couple of years ago, a live stream host who didn't believe in ghosts snuck in over the wall in the middle of the night. Guess what happened? The next morning, when they found him, everyone was terrified. He was clutching a huge old tree, refusing to let go, biting anyone who came near. In the end, it took several people to drag him down. He spent a few days in the hospital, and after waking up, he never streamed again. Word is, he now practices both Buddhism and Taoism, and even prays to Jesus. The comments section was lively. OP, don't try to trick me into believing in Jesus. I'm the chosen one. My teacher says I'll join the squad next month. Upstairs can wait. I haven't even spoken yet. I'm a materialist, not afraid of anything. We hunt often, those who know. OP's just making things up. Though the thread was old, it was still lively, filled with materialists mocking ghost stories. Jung-Chu kept scrolling. Oh, right, the strangest part was that after the streamer woke up, he claimed he'd recorded video all night, convinced he'd captured something. But when the police checked the footage, there was nothing there. The images were almost entirely black, with only faint outlines of trees and some leftover structures. From the camera angle, it seemed he had just been spinning in place. The video shook violently, like one of those fake documentary films you've seen. But while nothing was visible, when the audio was boosted, something strange appeared in the background. Faint singing, a woman's voice, and the laughter of a child. Don't doubt me. I'm telling the truth. If you come to our town as tourists, you're welcome. But never go to the old site of the second mill. Last time, some young people who didn't believe in superstition tried to sneak in at night to steal scrap from the abandoned factory. There were 3 of them in total. 2 went inside after midnight, the other stayed outside leaning against the wall. Those 2 inside vanished. To this day, they've never been found. Alright, since I've gone this far, I'll add a little more. But just listen and don't spread it. This matter has some weight to it, and I don't want trouble. Many years ago, the mill had a strange incident that killed quite a few people. Back then, it caused panic in town, and the factory was abandoned afterward. I heard it from my grandfather. It was in the last century. One night, while workers from the city were on shift, one man suddenly dropped his tools, raised his arms into a pose, and began singing. They said the song was hauntingly sorrowful. The singer was a man, but his voice was clearly female. What's more, he was a construction worker. Simple, taciturn, barely spoke, and certainly didn't know any opera. What happened next, my grandfather didn't say, maybe he didn't know. But that same night, a massive fire broke out in the second mill. It burned fiercely, killing dozens, including the guards. My grandfather, who lived nearby, was among the first to rush in to fight the fire. Amid the blaze, he saw something he could never forget. A man with loose hair, holding a torch, standing on a platform, swaying and striking poses as he sang opera. The voice and figure were unmistakably female. The rest of the people in the factory just crouched quietly below, listening. Even as the fire licked their bodies, they didn't react, their skin and flesh burning away. The flames were too fierce to approach. Not a single person was saved. My grandfather blamed himself for a long time, until he met a barefoot monk begging for food. After a short conversation, he came to terms with it. The monk, after hearing the story, pressed his palms together, softly chanted a Buddha's name, and explained that those people had been bewitched by a ghost. They couldn't be saved. If my grandfather had rushed in that night, he too would have died. Later, it said the monk went to find the town's officials to discuss the matter. In those days, certain things couldn't be openly talked about. Some say the monk buried a small Buddha statue under the factory wall to suppress the vengeful spirit's resentment. Others say he chanted sutras all night, burned incense and spirit money, and struck some sort of deal with the ghost. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. From that time on, no one touched the old mill again. The main gate was sealed, and though the land was in a prime location, it remained abandoned for decades. OP ended the post there. The rest of the thread was full of netizens debating, some believing, others dismissing it all as a made-up ghost story. But this post hit Jung too hard. Fengmen Town Ghost Opera, a woman, all three matched his own experience. That Fengmen Ghost Opera script box had clearly been sent from the abandoned flour mill, the very place of the supernatural incident. Combining the forum story with his own encounter, Jung Chu concluded that flour mill was the source of it all. Sitting around waiting to die wasn't in his nature. From what he knew, once a supernatural event began, it wouldn't stop until the root was resolved. So he decided he would go to Fengmen Town himself. He planned to leave in the morning, the sooner the better. For now, he needed to gather as much information about the mill as possible, preferably contact the original poster. He sent OP a private message and left a comment under the thread, emphasizing there'd be payment. After that, he waited, browsing other threads about supernatural events in Fengmen Town. While the stories were often dramatic, every one of them pointed to the same place, the flour mill abandoned decades ago. Night deepened. The street outside grew quiet. After hours of tension, Jung Chu felt exhaustion creep in. He leaned back in his chair, exhaled slowly, and opened OP's profile picture. Double-click. Nothing happened. Double-click again. The screen went black. The old computer had shut itself off. In the reflection of the dark screen, Jung Chu saw someone standing behind him on the sofa.